Okay, we know the streamline flow and the turbulent flow. Streamline flow means whenever the fluid is flowing through any tube, if the velocity of the fluid particles passing through any fluid flow through certain point or through any point remains constant both in magnitude and direction with time, then such fluid flow is called the streamline flow. Of course, the same particle when passing through another point, the velocity may change both in magnitude or direction or both. Then, but the velocity of every fluid particle passing through that point remains constant with the time. Then such type of flow is called the streamline flow. Of course, that is also called as the laminar flow. Okay. Turbulent flow means if the velocity of the fluid particles passing through a point in the fluid flow varies with time, either in magnitude or direction or in both, then such type of fluid flow is called the turbulent flow. Okay, whenever you gradually increase the velocity of the fluid flowing through the pipe, whenever you gradually increase the velocity of the fluid flowing through the pipe, for the given pressure difference across the pipe, the velocity of the fluid flow, the velocity of the fluid flow changes with pressure difference. Okay, so whenever the velocity of the fluid flow gradually increases at one particular velocity of the fluid flow, the streamline flow will be converted into turbulent flow. Such particular velocity is called the critical velocity of the fluid. Here, we know in case of a water tap, when you open the water tap very narrowly, when you open the water tap very narrowly, then the water comes out through the tube, comes out through the tap without any sprinkle. It comes down directly like this, and as long as it comes down, the area of cross section of the water flow decreases. Area of cross section of the water flow decreases. Such type of fluid flow is the streamline flow. Now, gradually you open the tap. Slowly you increase the opening of the tap so that the whole of the tap gradually increases. At the time, the water comes out through the tap gradually increases, and at one particular velocity of the, at one particular position, the water comes out through the tap sprinkles. That means that is the turbulent flow. So at what velocity of the fluid flow it is converted into turbulent flow, that is called the critical velocity. So the velocity of the fluid flow, velocity of fluid flow at which streamline flow is converted into turbulent flow. Streamline flow is converted into turbulent flow is called critical velocity of the fluid. Critical velocity of the fluid. Okay, here critical velocity depends on, that means VC depends on coefficient of viscosity of the fluid, density of the fluid, and diameter of the tube through which the liquid passes. Diameter. So diameter of the tube. These are the factors on which critical velocity of the tube or critical velocity of the fluid depends. It was found that critical velocity is directly proportional to eta, inversely proportional to the density of the fluid flowing through the tube, and inversely proportional to diameter of the tube. You club all this, then critical velocity is directly proportional to eta by rho into d, we can write now, implies critical velocity Vc is equal to some proportionality constant capital K into eta by rho into d. Okay, this proportionality constant K, that is called Reynolds number, where proportionality constant K is called Reynolds number. Reynolds number. Here, Reynolds number depends on the nature of the flow. For streamline flows, K value is having some K value has some range of values, and for turbulent flow, K value is having some range of value. Here, when K value is less than 1000, when K value is less than 1000, then that flow is the streamline flow. The flow is the streamline flow. When K value is greater than 2000, then the flow is the turbulent flow. Turbulent flow. When K value is in between, when K value is in between 1000 and 2000, the fluid flow is not steady. It is not in turbulent flow or in streamline flow. It converts into streamline to turbulent, turbulent to streamline. That's why it is not in steady state, in fixed state of the flow. Okay, that's why here, whenever the Reynolds number lies in between 1000 and 2000, then streamline converts into streamline flow, converts into turbulent flow, and vice versa. Turbulent will be converted into vice versa. Turbulent will be converted into streamline flow. That means the fluid flow is not steady. It is not in turbulent flow or not in streamline flow. It converts into turbulent to streamline, streamline to turbulent. When Reynolds number is in between these two. Reynolds number is purely the number. It has no units and no dimensions. Okay, this is also one important concept. Here D is the diameter. Capital D is the diameter. Okay. Now we have to discuss the very, very important topic in this chapter. We have to discuss the very, very important topic in this chapter. Okay. Whenever the fluid flow, when the fluid flow in a horizontal tube, when fluid flows through a horizontal tube, then what is the volume rate of flow of the fluid flowing through the tube? So we have to find the volume rate of flow or volume flux. Volume flux means volume rate of flow only. Okay. So we have to discuss the volume rate of flow. Next subheading, volume rate of flow or volume flux hyphen Poiseuille's equation. Volume rate of flow or volume flux hyphen Poiseuille's equation. Very, very important. Suppose here there is a narrow tube. There is a narrow tube means like a capillary tube. Capillary tube means here it is the glass rod having a fine bore in it. Bore ante daniki diameter 1 mm untundi, approximately 1 mm or less than 1 mm. It is a glass tube having fine bore along its length whose diameter is equal to or less than 1 mm. Such type of tube is called capillary tube. So this is the capillary tube. Okay. In order to flow the fluid from one end to another end, what you have to maintain? In order to flow the fluid from one end to other end, what you have to do? In order to flow the fluid from one end to other end, what you have to do? Shearing stress means, already I said no. Tangential force per unit area of cross section is called the shearing stress. Tangential stress or shearing stress. Okay. Pressure difference. Okay. In order to flow the fluid from one end to other end, we have to maintain the pressure difference. Suppose the pressure difference maintained across the tube is, say, P. Length of the tube is L. Length of the tube is L. Radius of cross section of the tube. Radius of cross section of the tube is a small r. Radius of cross section of the tube is a small r. Okay, now, okay, 1 minute. I will draw the somewhat large diagram. Okay. So here you see, of course, in order to see the diagram clearly. I drawn more diameter, but actually it is the capillary tube only. It is the capillary tube. Okay, having length L, and radius of the capillary tube means, suppose this is the axis of the capillary tube, axis, natural axis of the tube. Okay, this is the natural axis of the tube. Length is L, radius is capital R. Radius is, sorry, smaller. Radius is smaller. In order to flow the fluid from one end to another end, pressure difference is maintained. So P is the capital P is the pressure difference across the tube. Capital P. Pressure difference across the tube. Pressure difference across the tube. Here, this is the boundary of the tube. This is boundary and this is the boundary of the tube. Okay, here, suppose the liquid flowing through the tube, is incompressible. Viscous liquid is flowing through the tube. Suppose the liquid flowing through the tube is the viscous fluid. Viscous fluid means it is having coefficient of viscosity eta. So eta is the coefficient of viscosity. Coefficient of viscosity. Okay, so whenever the viscous fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, in such case the velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the boundary is zero. As long as we move away from the boundary, velocity of the fluid particle gradually increase and already in case of Newton's law of viscosity, we discussed it. Suppose it is the bed of the lake, then velocity of the fluid particle passing through this point is maximum because it is the surface. As long as depth increases, velocity gradually decreases, and velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the bottom of the lake, that becomes zero. Similarly, when you move above this point, then we are coming nearer to this boundary. That's why velocity gradually decreases. That's why velocity of the fluid particle in contact with the boundary is zero, and velocity of the fluid particle passing through the axis of the tube is maximum. Suppose at any instant of time, at t is equal to 0, fluid particle enter into this cross section of the tube. As because of pressure difference here, whenever the fluid enter into the tube, at that time the velocity of the fluid particle through this axis of the tube is maximum, and the velocity of the fluid particle at the boundary is zero. After some time, here at t is equal to 0, whatever the fluid particles enter through this cross section of the tube, after t seconds, those particles travel. This particle is at rest only. This particle travel certain distance. This particle travel more distance, like this. Okay, that's why the profile of the all particles after t seconds, when you see that profile is in the form of like this. This represents velocity of the fluid particle passing through axis of the tube is maximum, and at the boundary, theoretically it is zero. Okay, these are the velocities. These are the streamlines in the tube. These are the streamlines. So at any instant of time, this is the profile of the fluid particles when they enter into the tube at this cross section A. Okay, so here you see this is the axis of the tube. From the axis of the tube, when you move towards the boundary, velocity gradually decreases now. Suppose from the axis of the tube at a distance x, when you consider the velocity of the fluid particle, that velocity is say v. From the axis of the tube at a distance x, perpendicular to the fluid flow, at a distance x, when you consider here fluid particles travel in this direction. So from the axis of the tube at a distance x, the velocity of the fluid particle is say v. Then what is the velocity of the fluid particle? We are having only empirical formula. We are not having derivations. We are having only formula. So what is the formula for velocity of the fluid particle? Enter into at a distance velocity of the fluid particle at a distance x from the axis of the tube. So we have to write that formula. What is that formula? Here, velocity of the fluid particle at any point here at a distance x from the axis of the tube, v is equal to pressure difference into r square minus x square by 4 eta L, 4 eta into L. You see, here at the boundary, already I said, at the boundary velocity of the fluid particle is 0, and at the axis velocity is maximum. Is it satisfied that equation or not? You see, at boundary means x is equal to r. When you put x is equal to r, then small r square minus r square 0. That's why velocity of the fluid particle at the boundary becomes 0. Velocity of the fluid particle passing through the axis of the tube is maximum. Axis means when you consider the fluid particle through axis of the tube, x is equal to 0. When you substitute 0, this bracket term becomes maximum, so that maximum velocity is there. That's why velocity of the fluid particle, velocity of fluid particle, velocity of the fluid particle through axis of tube, that is the maximum velocity, which is equal to, here velocity of the fluid particle through axis of the tube means x is equal to 0. No, when you put x is equal to 0, we will have p into r square by 4 into eta L. So what is the minimum velocity? Velocity at boundary, velocity at boundary of the tube, or velocity of the fluid particle at boundary of the tube is equal to v minimum, which is equal to, because x is equal to r. At the boundary, velocity of the fluid particles, in order to find them, we had substitute x is equal to r. When you put x is equal to r, then velocity becomes minimum, which is equal to 0 only. 0 only. Therefore, what is the average velocity? Therefore, average velocity of the fluid particle, it's very, very important. Average velocity of fluid particle. Average velocity of the fluid particles through the tube. Comma, V average is equal to maximum velocity plus minimum velocity by 2. Therefore, V average is equal to maximum velocity P r square by 4 eta L plus V minimum is 0 by whole by 2. Oh, sorry, whole by 2. Therefore, average velocity V average is equal to average velocity of particles. V average is equal to pi r square by 8 eta into L. This is the formula for average velocity of the fluid particle and velocity of the fluid particle at any distance x from the axis of the tube. This is also important one. This is equation 1. This is equation 2. Okay. Coefficient of viscosity across the tube. Pressure difference across the tube. Pressure difference across the tube. Okay, Siddharth. Pressure difference across the tube. Okay, Siddharth. Right. So average velocity of the fluid particles is equal to pi r to pi r square by 8 eta L. Then what is the volume rate of flow of the fluid through this pipe? When pressure difference is maintained, as the fluid is flowing through this pipe with average velocity of the fluid particles is equal to this one. What is the volume rate of flow of the fluid passing through the capillary tube, or what is the volume rate of volume of the fluid flowing through the tube per second? Volume of the fluid flowing through the tube per second means A into V, no? So volume of the fluid flowing through the tube per second. Therefore, volume of fluid, it is the horizontal tube only. Okay, volume of fluid flowing through the tube, flowing through the horizontal tube per second. or it is also called as volume rate of flow. Volume rate of flow or volume flux, that is equal to say Q. So volume, according to equation of continuity, volume rate of flow is equal to area of cross section of the tube into average velocity, no? Therefore, volume rate of flow is equal to area of cross section of the tube is equal to pi into small r square. So pi r square into average velocity means p r square by 8 eta into L. Therefore, volume rate of flow Q is equal to pi p r square r to the power of 4 by 8 eta into L. This is the formula for volume rate of flow, which is equal to area of cross section to average velocity also we can write. This is also equal to area of cross section into average velocity of the fluid. Okay. So this is the volume rate of flow. So this equation is called Poiseuille's equation. This equation is called, this equation or this is called Poiseuille's equation. This is called Poiseuille's equation. So Poiseuille's equation gives the volume rate of flow through the horizontal tube only. That is very, very important. It is applicable only for horizontal tube, not for all, not for inclined tubes. It is applicable only for a horizontal tube because the potential energy of the fluid enter into the tube and leaving the tube, that must be same. That is possible whenever the tube is horizontal. That's why for in case of horizontal tube only, this Poiseuille's equation is applicable. Okay, so here already you know eta is the coefficient of viscosity, L is the length of the tube, P is the pressure difference across the tube, and R is the radius of the tube. So volume rate of flow of the fluid through the horizontal tube is equal to pi p r to the power of 4 by 8 eta into L. From this volume rate of flow Q is equal to, you keep P in the numerator only, remaining you write in the denominator, then 8 eta L by pi r to the power of 4 you will get. When coefficient of viscosity is more, the volume rate of flow will be less. When coefficient of viscosity is more, that means viscous forces are more. When viscous forces are more, the liquid flowing through the tube will be less. That's why volume rate of flow will decrease. Okay, when small r is less, this will be more. When it will be more, Q will be less. That's why here radius of the tube also, here radius of the capillary tube also plays the affect the or influence the volume rate of flow through them. Okay. Similarly, when length of the tube is more, volume rate of flow will be less. That's why this denominator term represents the opposition for the flow of the fluid through the capillary tube. Opposition for the flow of the fluid or liquid in the capillary tube. Such opposition for the flow of the fluid in the capillary tube, that is called the fluid resistance. That is called fluid resistance. So in this equation, this is equal to P by fluid resistance capital R, where R is equal to 8 eta L by pi r to the power of 4. This is called fluid resistance. Fluid resistance. That is called the fluid resistance. Okay. So here, therefore, volume rate of flow Q is equal to, we can write pi p r to the power of 4 by 8 eta L, we can write, or area of cross section of the tube into average velocity, we can write, that is equal to pressure difference across the tube by fluid resistance capital R. This is the formula for volume rate of flow of the fluid or volume flux. Volume flux, we can write. Volume rate of flow or volume flux. Volume rate of flow or volume flux. Okay. Right. Video is clear only. Is video is clear or not to you? You please respond. Is video is clear to you or not? Please respond. Okay. Kundan, you adjust your system. Right. Shall I write this one? Okay, I don't want to say excellent. Clarity, quality is excellent means we cannot say. That depends on the different factors. Okay, here is it visible or not properly? That's all. It is not crystal clear. I don't say it is crystal clear. So it is enough to read. That's all. It is enough to understand. Okay. In order to have the crystal clear, in the Zoom only, the clarity is not good. In the Zoom only, the clarity is not good. Even you suppose if you see the debate in the news in different TV channels, the image is not clear because they use the high bandwidth. Even then, through Zoom app, the clarity is not clear. Suppose if recorded video is there, definitely clarity will be more. But it is the live class now. That's why clarity is not clear. Clarity is not good. But is it visible or not properly to understand the subject means that is enough. I think this is enough. Okay. Right, Nana. Okay, Kundan, try to understand. We always try to provide the clear video to you with available resources. Okay. I always try to give more quality video. Even I changed the net also with 100 Mbps. Even net is 100 Mbps, the clarity is not good because that is in the Zoom only. In the Zoom only problem is there. Okay. Right. Now, some note points related to this Poiseuille equation. Some note points related to Poiseuille equation. Okay. So according to this Poiseuille equation, volume rate of flow is equal to pi p r to the power of 4 by 8 eta into L no. That is equal to P by fluid resistance scapular. That is equal to area of cross section into average velocity, where fluid resistance, comma, capital is equal to fluid resistance capital is equal to 8 eta L by pi r to the power of 4 no. 8 eta L by pi r to the power of 4. So fluid resistance capital is directly proportional to eta, proportional to L, inversely proportional to r to the power of 4. That is also important. When radius of cross section of the tube is less, fluid resistance will be more. When eta is more, fluid resistance is more. When length of the tube is more, fluid resistance is more. Okay, this relation is also important one. Second one, suppose when capillary tubes are connected in series. Capillary tubes are in series. Capillary tubes are in series. When capillary tubes are connected in series means, suppose you see here one capillary tube is connected, one end of the capillary tube is connected to another capillary tube, all are horizontal only. This is connected to another capillary tube like this. When different capillary tubes are connected end to end like this, pressure difference across this capillary tube is P1, pressure difference across this capillary tube is P2, pressure difference across the third capillary tube is say P3. The total pressure difference across this capillary tube is say P. Okay, then the total pressure difference across the combination of the three capillary tubes is equal to sum of the pressure differences across the individual capillary tubes. So sum of the pressure differences across the individual capillary tubes. That is the total pressure difference across the combination of the three capillary tubes. Okay, if they are two, then P is equal to P1 plus P2 only. Next, here in case of the streamline flow, as that streamline flow is having no velocity perpendicular to the direction of fluid flow. In this direction has no velocity. Whatever the volume of the fluid enter into the tube per second, the same volume of the fluid comes out through the other end of the combination of the tubes per second. That's why Here, no stagnation of the fluid or water inside the capillary tube. At what rate fluid enters through all capillary tubes, fluid comes out with the same volume rate of flow. That's why volume rate of flow through first capillary tube, second capillary tube, third capillary tube, all are same. That is equal to Q. That is equal to Q. What is the effective fluid resistance? What is the effective fluid resistance? You see, volume rate of flow is equal to general formula is P by fluid resistance capillary, no? Fluid resistance capillary. From this, P is equal to Q into capillary, no? Q into capillary. Okay, now you see what is the effective fluid resistance of this combination of the tubes? Effective fluid resistance of combination of the tubes here. Suppose the fluid resistance of this capillary tube is say R1, this is say R2, this is say R3. Of course, how we can find the fluid resistance means by this one. Okay, then here you see from this formula, from this equation 1. In this case, what is the ratio between the volume rates of flow of the fluid through the capillary tubes when they are in series? If the capillary tubes are connected in such a way that volume rate of flow remains same in all capillary tubes, then they are said to be connected in series. That is the series combination of the capillary tubes. All are horizontal. Okay, now that's why volume rates of flow are equal. That means ratio between the volume rates of flow, that is equal to 1:1:1. Next, here in this case, from this formula, P is equal to QR, no? P is equal to QR. As volume rate of flow remains same, then Q is constant, you keep aside. Then P is proportional to R. Then the ratio between the pressure differences across the capillary tubes is equal to P1 is to P2 is to P3 is equal to R1 is to R2 is to R3. It is the ratio between the pressure differences. Okay. Next, from this formula, from this equation 1, P is equal to P1. How we can write P1? P is equal to Q into R. So P1 means Q into R1 plus P2 means Q into R2 plus P3 means Q into R3. Because volume rate of flow is same through all capillary tubes. That's why instead of volume rate of flow, I have substituted instead of Q1, Q2, Q3, I have written Q only. Okay, or you write first Q1, Q2, Q3. Then you substitute Q only. QR1 plus QR2 plus QR3. Okay, it is the total pressure difference across the combination. R1, R2, R3 are the fluid resistance of the individual capillary tubes. Okay, now whatever the volume rate of flow across this capillary combination of the capillary tubes, in order to have the same volume rate of flow for the given pressure difference, in order to have the same volume rate of flow, whatever the single capillary tube having fluid resistance capillary that is connected here to have the same volume rate of flow for the same pressure difference, such fluid resistance of that single capillary tube is called effective fluid resistance of this combination. Suppose the effective fluid resistance of this combination is a capillary, same volume rate of flow must be there for the given pressure difference. That's why the pressure difference across this single capillary tube in order to have the same volume rate of flow is equal to Q into effective fluid resistance capillary. You cancel R, Q in all. Then R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. So when the capillary tubes are connected in series, then the effective fluid resistance is equal to sum of the individual fluid resistances. Sum of the individual fluid resistances. Okay. Suppose if the capillary tubes are connected in parallel, when capillary tubes are connected in parallel, when capillary tubes are connected in series, then pressure differences across different capillary tubes are different. They are in the ratio of fluid resistances. If capillary tubes are connected in parallel, what happens? When does the capillary tubes are said to be connected in parallel? That is important. Is it second point or third point? Second point or third one? I think third one. Okay, third one. Third one. Suppose you see this is the vessel. It is the vessel in which liquid is taken. Suppose number of capillary tubes are connected. One capillary tube is connected here. One capillary tube is connected here. One capillary tube is connected here. At the bottom, say different capillary tubes are connected at the bottom. Here liquid is taken up to certain height. Certain height, say H. Of course, outside atmosphere pressure P0 is there. Then what is the pressure difference across this capillary tube? Length of this capillary tube is say L1, length of this capillary tube is L2, L3 like that. Fluid resistance of this capillary tube is R1, it is R2, R3 like that. Okay, when capillary tubes are connected like this, what about the pressure difference across the capillary tube? Same for parallel. Yes, very good. Here you see at this point, that means at the first end of this capillary tube, pressure is atmospheric pressure plus pressure difference due to liquid column. Okay, that means P0 plus H rho z. P0 plus H rho z. Here atmospheric pressure P0 is there. Then what is the pressure difference across capillary tube? That is equal to H rho z. Here also H rho z, here also H rho z. That means different capillary tubes are connected so that connected to the beaker so that pressure difference across all the capillary tubes are same. Then the capillary tubes are said to be connected in parallel. Okay, so when capillary tubes are connected, when capillary tubes are connected in such a way that pressure differences across them, pressure differences across all tubes are same. All tubes means horizontal tubes only. All tubes are same. Comma, then they are said to be connected in parallel. They are in parallel. Okay, therefore P1 is to P2 is to P3 is equal to 1 is to 1 is to 1. That means pressure difference across all the capillary tubes remains same, which is equal to H rho z. H means the height of liquid column, rho is the density of the liquid, g is the acceleration due to gravity. So when capillary tubes are connected in such a way that pressure difference across all of them remains same, then they are connected, said to be connected in parallel. If the capillary tubes are connected in such a way that volume rate of flow remains same in all the capillary tubes, then how they are said to be connected? How they are said to be connected? When capillary tubes are connected in such a way that volume rate of flow remains same in all of them, then they are said to be connected in series. Okay, but here it is a parallel. So from the volume rate of flow, Q is equal to P by R. Already we know the formula. Okay, here volume rate of flow is not constant. Here volume rate of flow in one capillary tube is Q1, in another Q2, and here it is Q3. Therefore, total volume rate of flow Q is equal to, we can write Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. But here pressure difference is constant across all of them now. That implies we can write volume rate of flow is inversely proportional to the fluid resistance. Okay, now you apply here. Here Q1 means we can write 1 by R1, 1 by R2. Okay, we can write P by R1. P by R1 plus P by R2 plus P by R3, because pressure difference across this tube, all equal to same. That's why that is equal to say P. Then P by R1 for first tube, for second one P by R2, P by R3. Okay. So whenever here I have taken example. In this example, I have taken 3 capillary tubes, maybe 2 also. Here 3 capillary tubes are connected such that pressure difference across all of them remains the same, which is equal to P. Then total volume rate of flow through 3 capillary tubes is equal to this plus this plus this. Okay, you replace all these 3 capillary tubes by a single capillary tube having fluid resistance capital. For the same pressure difference, if the volume rate of flow remains the same, then such fluid resistance of that three capillary, the fluid resistance of that single capillary tube for which volume rate of flow for the given pressure difference remains the same as here for the three capillary tubes. That is called the effective fluid resistance of all the capillary tubes. That's why here R is the effective fluid resistance of all the capillary tubes. Then you cancel P. Then you will get 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. It is the R is the effective fluid resistance when different capillary tubes are connected in parallel. If only two are there, it is not there. 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. Okay. This is the formula for effective fluid resistance when they are connected in parallel. Next, when our capillary tubes are connected in parallel, what is the ratio between the volume rates of flow? You see, whenever the capillary tubes are connected in parallel, P is constant. That's why volume rate of flow is inversely proportional to R no. Therefore, the ratio between the volume rates of flow through three capillary tubes is equal to 1 by R1 is to 1 by R2 is to 1 by R3. 1 by R3. Okay. Sometimes the three capillary tubes are having same length, but radius are different. Three capillary tubes are having same length, but different radii. If lengths are same, lengths of all tubes are same, but radii are different. Okay, then fluid resistance R is equal to 8 eta L by pi R to the power of 4. No, this is a general formula for fluid resistance. No, here length is same for all. Of course, in the all capillary tubes, same liquid will flow. So this is constant. This pi is also constant. Implies fluid resistance is inversely proportional to R to the power of 4. No, therefore, ratio between the volume rates of flow through all the capillary tubes is equal to R is inversely proportional to small r to the power of 4 means here R1 to the power of 4 is to R to the power of 4 is to R3 to the power of 4. We can write like this. We can write like this. Okay. This is the parallel combination of the capillary tubes. Okay. Now, shall I raise this one? Yeah. Similar to current electricity. Yes. Similar to current electricity. In current electricity, when three conductors are connected in series, effective resistance, electrical resistance is R1 plus R2 plus R3. When they are parallel, 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. Same formula in electricity also, current electricity. Okay. It is about Poiseuille's equation. Okay, next very important theorem, Bernoulli's theorem. Very important theorem, that is the Bernoulli's theorem. Most important one. Here, that Bernoulli's theorem is very important for IP point of view also. Bernoulli's theorem is very important for IP also. Very important theorem, Bernoulli's theorem. Most of the concepts are, the applications are there related to Bernoulli's theorem. We use the air compressor. We use the air compressor to fill the tube, that may be bicycle tube, a motorcycle tube, car tube, whatever it may be. Okay, so in order to fill the air in them, definitely we use the compressor. That compressor works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. Similarly, here in order to spray the perfume, when you push the button, immediately perfume sprays no, that comes out no. So that also perfume bottle also works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. There are different applications of the Bernoulli's theorem are there. Okay, so what is the Bernoulli's theorem? First, we have to discuss Bernoulli's theorem. Suppose in case of incompressible in a tube of non-uniform area of cross section, in a tube of non-uniform area of cross section, suppose you say this is a tube of non-uniform area of cross section. It is a tube of non-uniform area of cross section. Okay, here the area of cross section at the first end is say A1, area of cross section at the second end is say A2. The line joining the centers of all cross sections of the tube, that is the axis of the tube. So this is the axis of the tube. From the horizontal level, this is the horizontal level. From the horizontal level, this end of the tube, that means the center of this end of the tube is at a height h1. This end is at a height say h2. Okay, here the pressure applied whenever the in order to here the liquid is pushed into liquid or fluid is pushed into the tube at a pressure say P1. Here the pressure at this other cross section of the tube is say P2. Okay, definitely in order to flow the fluid from this end A, P2Q, P2Q, in order to flow the fluid from P2Q, definitely pressure at this point is greater than pressure at this point. Due to that, pressure difference is maintained across the tube. Hence, fluid flow from one end to other end. While passing through this cross section of the tube, suppose the average velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube is say V1. Average velocity of the fluid comes through the other end of the tube is say V2. Then, when an incompressible non-viscous irrotational fluid, here we have here in this tube, incompressible non-viscous, viscosity property is not there. That means ideal fluid. Non-viscous, incompressible non-viscous and irrotational fluid. Irrotational fluid flowing through pipe, flowing through the tube, flowing through the tube in streamline flow. Streamline flow. That means it is the ideal fluid. These properties are possessed by the ideal fluid only. Ideal fluid. In case of ideal fluid, there is no viscosity property. Such type of fluid, if flows through this tube having non-uniform area of cross section, then total energy of the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube per unit volume remains constant at any cross section. Whenever the incompressible non-viscous irrotation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, the total energy of the fluid flowing through the tube per unit volume, per unit mass or per unit volume, that remains constant at any cross section of the tube. That is called the Bernoulli's theorem. That is the statement of the Bernoulli's theorem. It is important for IPE point of view also. It is important for IPE point of view also. In case of here, when incompressible non-viscous irradiation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, in case of incompressible non-viscous irradiation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, the total energy per unit volume remains constant. This is called statement. This is Bernoulli's theorem. This is called Bernoulli's theorem or statement of Bernoulli's theorem. This is Bernoulli's theorem. So with the help of the Bernoulli's theorem, we have to find what is the total energy per unit volume at any cross section of the tube. Total energy per unit volume at any cross section of the tube. We have to derive the formula for that. What are the energies possessed by the fluid flowing through the tube? What are the energies possessed by the fluid flowing through the tube? Tell me. What are the energies possessed by the fluid flowing through the tube? Tell me. Which type of energy is possessed by the fluid? Okay, pressure energy, kinetic energy, potential energy. So these are the three types of energies possessed by the fluid flowing through the tube. Okay, in order to flow the fluid from one end to other end, by means of pressure difference, we have to do some work. Okay, by means of the pressure difference, we have to do some work in flowing the fluid from one end to other end. So what is the amount of work done by the pressure difference to flow the fluid from one end to another end? And next, when the fluid flow from one end to other end, as the height changes, work is done by the gravity also. Work is done by the gravity also. So you find the total work done, net work done by all the forces on the fluid when passing through this tube. Okay, according to work energy theorem, that is equal to change in kinetic energy of the fluid. No? Whenever the fluid flow from this end to this end, the velocity changes from V1 to V2. So change in kinetic energy we can calculate now. Suppose at any instant of time, suppose dm mass of the fluid enter into here through this end, dm1 mass of the fluid enter into the cross section of the tube, and dm2 mass of the fluid comes out through the other end of the tube in a time dt seconds. Here also in a time dt seconds. Okay, now what is the work done by here in order to push the fluid into the cross section of the tube? In order to push the dm1 mass of the fluid into the cross section of the tube at a pressure P1, what is the work done? What is the work done? Because fluid passing through the cross section of the tube in this direction, force due to pressure also in the same direction. That's why work done is positive only. But here, because while coming out here, due to this pressure P2, the force acts on the fluid while coming out, acts on the fluid in opposite to the direction of its motion. That's why here work done by the pressure is negative. Here work done by the pressure is positive. So what is the net work done by the pressure difference means? Here you see force acts on this fluid element of mass dm1. ఇక్కడ dm1 మాస్ కల ఫ్లూయిడ్ ఎలిమెంట్ లోపలికి ఎంటర్ అవుతోంది. అప్పుడు ఈ ప్రెజర్ వలన ఆ ఎలిమెంట్ మీద పనిచేసే ఫోర్స్ ఎంత? ఫోర్స్ P1 ఇంటూ ఏరియా ఆఫ్ క్రాస్ సెక్షన్ A1. Sorry, pressure P1 into area of cross section A1 is the force exerted by this pressure on the fluid element while enter. Okay, force into displacement of the fluid. Suppose in a time dt seconds, the fluid enter into the tube and travel a distance equal to ds1. The fluid travel through a distance ds1. Here the fluid comes out through the tube and travel through a distance equal to ds2 in a time d2, in a time dt seconds. Okay, now therefore work done by net work done by pressure difference, net work done by pressure difference on the fluid when flow from P to Q, E say W1, that is equal to E say W1, which is equal to, you see, by this pressure dm1 mass of the fluid enter into the tube in a time dt seconds and travel a distance equal to ds1. Okay, then what is the work done by that pressure while entering to the tube or while introducing the liquid into the tube is equal to pressure P1 into area A1 gives force into displacement of the fluid ds1 in a time dt seconds. That is the work done by this pressure on the fluid while entering into the tube. That is the positive work done. While coming out, due to this pressure P2, work done by the fluid while coming out is negative, because due to this pressure, the force acts on this fluid element in opposite direction. But whereas the fluid comes out through the cross section of the tube, that because velocity direction we have taken in this direction now, that's why work done is negative, because both here the fluid cannot travel, cannot enter into this tube and enter into this tube. If the fluid enter into the tube through one cross section, from the other cross section definitely it should come out. Okay, that's why whenever the fluid comes out through this cross section, then work done by this pressure on this fluid while coming out is negative, which is equal to minus force exerted by this pressure on this fluid element when comes out through the cross section of the tube of area of cross section A2 is force acts as P2 into A2. Okay, it is the force. into displacement of the liquid is ds2. అంటే దీంట్లో నుంచి బయటకు ఎమర్జ్ అయిన ఫ్లూయిడ్ dt సెకండ్స్ లో ds2 డిస్టెన్స్ ట్రావెల్ చేస్తుంది అనుకుంటే ds2. దట్ ఈస్ ద వర్క్ డన్ బై ద నెట్ వర్క్ డన్ బై ద ప్రెజర్ డిఫరెన్స్ అక్రాస్ ద ట్యూబ్. Net work done by the pressure difference across the tube. This is say equation 1. From this, A1 ds1 is the volume of the fluid enter into the tube. No, A1 ds1 is the volume of the liquid enter into the tube through this cross section A1. Okay, in a time dt seconds. That means it is the volume of the liquid enter into the tube in a time dt seconds is A1 ds1. Then what is the volume of the liquid enter into the tube per second? A1 ds1 by dt. Volume of the liquid comes out through the tube per second means A2 into ds2 by dt, no? But according to equation of continuity, volume rate of flow remains constant through the capillary tube when fluid flows is incompressible non-viscous rotation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow. The volume rate of flow through any cross section of the tube remains constant according to equation of continuity. Since according to equation of continuity. Okay, here ds1 by dt can be written as v1. No, ds1 means displacement of the fluid element in a time dt seconds. That gives velocity. That's why a1 v1 is equal to, we can write a2 v2, or a1, as these two are equal, dt cancel, then we can write a1 ds1 is equal to a2 ds2. We can write volume rate of flow of the fluid means volume of the fluid enter into the tube per second. Suppose the mass of the fluid enter into the tube is in a dt time is equal to say dm1. Mass of the fluid enter into the tube in a time dt seconds is dm1 at this end. Then mass into density of the liquid is mass by volume gives density. Okay, then volume is equal to mass by density. No, we can write mass by density ρ1. This is equal to a1 into ds1. Volume of the fluid enter into the tube is equal to volume of the fluid enter into the tube is equal to a1 ds1. That is equal to dm1 by ρ1. Next, the mass of the fluid comes out through the other end of the tube is equal to dm2 by ρ2. That is equal to a2 into ds2. We can write. Okay, therefore, as dt cancel, a1 ds1, a2 ds2 both are same now according to equation of continuity. Therefore, a1 ds1 means we can write a1 ds1 means dm1 by ρ1. a2 ds2 means we can write dm2 by ρ2. Okay, you substitute this value here. Therefore, w1 is equal to p1 into a1 ds1 means we can write dm1 by ρ1. That is minus p2 into a2 ds2 means dm2 by ρ2. But volume rate of flow remains the same. That's why volume rate of flow means mass by density is the volume. No, volume of the fluid enter into the tube. It is the volume of the fluid leaving the tube. Okay, so you keep like this. This is equation 2. It is the net work done by pressure difference across the capillary tube. Next, what is the work done by gravity? Net work done by gravity. Net work done by gravity. Net work done by gravity Wg is equal to initial potential energy minus final potential energy. So Wg is equal to initial potential energy means while entering into the tube, the potential energy of the fluid element while entering into the tube is equal to mass of the fluid element dm1 into z into height of the fluid element from the reference line is equal to h1 minus final potential energy. Mass of the fluid element comes out is dm2 into z into height h2. It is the work done by gravity. That is equation 3. Okay, now according to work energy theorem, according to work energy theorem. Net work done is equal to change in kinetic energy. Net work done by all the forces is equal to change in kinetic energy of the fluid. Net work done means work done due to pressure difference W1. Work done by gravity is equal to say W2. So W2, that is the net work done. Net work done is equal to this one. That is equal to change in kinetic energy means delta K. That means final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. Final kinetic energy is here, initial kinetic energy is here. W1 means, how we can write W1? Here. P1 into dm1 by rho 1 minus P2 into dm2 by rho 2 plus work done by gravity. Work done by gravity means this one, no? dm1 gh1 minus dm2 gh2 is equal to change in kinetic energy. Change in kinetic energy means final kinetic energy, half into dm2 into velocity square, average velocity square, minus initial kinetic energy of the fluid while enter. That is equal to half into dm1 into v1 square. Okay, shall I erase that part? This part of the derivation, shall I erase? Shall I erase this part of the derivation? Come on, you respond immediately. Shall I erase this part of the derivation? Okay. Okay, now okay, here you see. According to equation of continuity, already we have observed volume rate of flow remains constant. Volume rate of flow is equal to volume of the fluid enter into the tube in a time dt seconds is equal to say dv. dv by dt is the volume rate of flow of the fluid enter into the tube or leaving the tube or through any cross section. That remains constant. It is the general formula. Okay, that means volume of the fluid enter into the tube. Volume of the fluid enter into the tube or leaving the tube. As dt is constant, dv remains same. dv remains same. Okay, that's why instead of dm1 by rho 1, volume rate of, you see dm1 by rho 1 means that is the volume rate of flow only, no? So dm1 by rho 1 is the volume of the fluid enter into the tube by dt is equal to dm2 by volume rate of flow enter into the leaving the tube. That is equal to dm2 by rho 2 into dt. But as the fluid is incompressible, because we have in the beginning only, at initial only, we consider the fluid is incompressible, non-viscous, irrotational fluid. Incompressible means for incompressible density does not change. For incompressible density, rho 1 is equal to rho 2 is equal to say rho. Whenever this is constant and rho 1, rho 2 are same, dt are same, then definitely dm1, dm2 are equal. So that's why whatever the mass of the fluid enter into the tube in a time dt seconds, the same mass must come out. Then only the volume of the fluid comes out through the other end of the tube remains the same. That's why dm1 by rho 1, as dt is constant, dv is constant. dv is equal to dm1 by rho 1, that is equal to dm2 by rho 2, that remains constant in any given interval of time. Okay, as here this is equal to, we can write dm by in general rho, because the fluid flowing through the tube is incompressible. In case of incompressible, density remains same. That's why mass of the fluid enter into the tube by density gives volume of the fluid enter into the tube in a time dt. That remains constant. As dt is constant, dv is constant. That's why dv is equal to dm1 by rho 1, that is equal to dm by rho 2, which is equal to dm by rho. Now in this formula, suppose this is equation 3 say, then from this 3, P1 into dm1 by rho 1 is equal to, you write dm by rho only, dm by rho minus P2 into dm by rho is equal to, plus dm into gh1 minus dm into gh2 is equal to half dm into v2 square minus half dm into v1 square. You divide entire with dm. Then we will have P1 by rho minus P2 by rho plus GH1 minus GH2 is equal to V2 square by 2 minus V1 square by 2. Now you multiply with rho on both sides. Then P1 minus P2 plus rho GH1 minus rho GH2. In case of incompressible fluid, density also same, no? Okay, that's why instead of rho 1, rho 2, you write rho only. You multiply on both sides with rho. That is equal to 1 by 2 rho v2 square minus 1 by 2 rho v1 square. Therefore, you write all the terms belongs to first cross section of the tube one side, and at the second for the different physical quantities related to second cross section aside. P1 is the pressure energy per unit volume, isn't it? Already yesterday we derived pressure energy of the fluid is equal to pressure energy of the fluid is equal to work done on the liquid while entering into the tube by the pressure. That is the pressure energy. Pressure energy per unit mass, pressure energy per unit volume we have calculated, no? Pressure energy per unit volume is numerically equal to pressure only. That's why P1 is the pressure energy per unit volume of the fluid or liquid while entering into the tube. P1 plus rho z H1. It is the potential energy per unit volume plus half rho V1 square, kinetic energy per unit volume. That is equal to, you bring this minus P2 to right, then plus P2 minus rho GH2 to right, then plus rho GH2 plus half rho V2 square. So here from this equation, it is clear that pressure energy per unit volume, potential energy per unit volume, kinetic energy per unit volume. These are the three types of energies possessed by any fluid. So total energy of the fluid per unit volume at this cross section is same as total energy of the fluid comes while coming out through the other cross section of the tube per unit volume. That is, they are same, means that indicates that energy of the fluid flowing through the tube per unit volume remains constant through any cross section of the tube, no? Suppose while passing through any cross section of the tube here, which is at a height h from the reference level, pressure of the fluid while passing through this cross section is a P. Average velocity of the fluid while passing through this cross section is a V. Height is h. Then, as it is constant, in general, we can write pressure energy per unit volume of the fluid while passing through this cross section is P plus rho z into h, potential energy per unit volume, plus kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho into V square. That is equal to constant. This is the Bernoulli's theorem. So according to Bernoulli's theorem, when incompressible non-viscous irradiation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, then total energy per unit volume, pressure energy per unit volume plus potential energy per unit volume plus kinetic energy per unit volume, that is the total energy per unit volume remains constant. That is the Bernoulli's theorem. This is the Bernoulli's theorem. It is the mathematical form of the Bernoulli's theorem. At different cross sections, if you want to apply the Bernoulli's theorem, then we can use this formula. At different cross sections of the tube, if you want to apply the Bernoulli's theorem, we can write the Bernoulli's theorem like this. At any cross section means P plus rho GH plus half rho V square, that is equal to constant. Okay, next. Pressure energy per unit mass means total energy per unit mass. Total energy per unit mass means how we can write. It is the total energy per unit volume. Total energy per unit volume. Okay, unit volume. So total energy per unit mass. How we can write? Total energy per unit mass. In order to obtain the total energy per unit mass, you divide this equation with rho. Then P by rho plus GH plus V square by 2. That is equal to constant. ఎందుకంటే పొటెన్షియల్ ఎనర్జీ ఎంజీహెచ్ ఉంటుందండి, పర్ యూనిట్ మాస్ అంటే బై ఎంఎం క్యాన్సిల్ అయిపోతే జీహెచ్ ఉండాలి కదా. అంటే టోటల్ ఎనర్జీ పర్ యూనిట్ మాస్ అన్నప్పుడు జీహెచ్ రావాలంటే రోతో డివైడ్ చేసేయాలి మొత్తం. అప్పుడు పి బై రో ప్లస్ జీహెచ్ ప్లస్ వి స్క్వేర్ బై 2 దట్ ఈస్ ఈక్వల్ టు కాన్స్టెంట్. ఇట్ ఈస్ ద total energy per unit mass that also remains constant. So it is the another form of the Bernoulli's theorem. It is the another form of the Bernoulli's theorem that remains constant. So this is the Bernoulli's theorem. Okay. Ke means half mv square. No, it is the kinetic energy per unit volume. Kinetic energy is half mv square by volume. Mass by volume gives density. That's why rho I have written. Okay. Sriram. Kinetic energy per unit volume it is the potential energy per unit volume, pressure energy per unit volume. Yesterday we proved that pressure energy per unit volume is numerically equal to pressure itself. Potential energy per unit volume is mgh by v. M by v means mass by volume gives density, that's why rho gh. Kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho v square. So this is the sum of the three kinds of energies per unit volume. That is the total energy per unit volume that remains constant according to this equation. That's why according to Bernoulli's theorem, in case of incompressible non-viscous irradiation fluid flowing through the tube in streamline flow, the total energy per unit volume remains constant, or total energy per unit mass remains constant. Total energy per unit volume remains constant, or total energy per unit mass remains constant. Okay, here you see in this formula you divide with g also. You divide with g. G is constant, no, or when you divide this equation with g, it makes no difference. When above equation, above means this one, when above equation is divided with small g, acceleration due to gravity, divided with small g, comma, then you see divide with small g, p by rho z, you will get p by rho z plus h plus, because p by rho z plus gh by z, gz cancel, so h plus v square by 2z, v square by 2z, that is equal to constant by z, constant by z. At the given place g is constant, that's why this is equal to another constant you will get. So in this formula, p by rho z, that is called the pressure head. In this formula, p by rho z, that is called pressure head. Pressure head. Okay, h, that is called the gravitational head. Gravitational head. Okay, v square by, sorry, v square by rho z, no, v square by v square by 2z, sorry, 2z only. Okay, v square by 2z, that is the velocity head. V square by 2z, so that is the velocity head. That term is called velocity head. Okay, h is the gravitational head. So of course it is the different forms of the Bernoulli's theorem. Okay, now applications of the Bernoulli's theorem we have to discuss. Applications of the Bernoulli's theorem, they are very, very important. Applications of the Bernoulli's theorem. Shall I raise this one? Applications of Bernoulli's theorem. Very, very important. Most of the problems related to this point only. Bernoulli's theorem only. Applications of Bernoulli's theorem. First one, Venturi meter. First one, Venturi meter. Venturi meter. Venturi meter is the device. Venturi meter. Venturi meter is the device used to measure the volume rate of flow of the liquid flowing through them. Venturi meter అంటే దాని ద్వారా ఒక పైప్ లో వాటర్ ఎంత ఎట్ వాట్ వాల్యూమ్ రేట్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లో అంటే వాట్ ఈస్ ద వాల్యూమ్ ఆఫ్ ది వాటర్ ఫ్లోయింగ్ త్రూ ద ట్యూబ్ పర్ సెకండ్ ఎంత ఉంది అది ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయడానికి యూజ్ చేసే డివైస్ వెంచురీ మీటర్. ఇట్ వర్క్స్ ఆన్ ది ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఆఫ్ బెర్నౌల్లిస్ థియరం. ఇట్ వర్క్స్ ఆన్ ది ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఆఫ్. ఓకే, వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ డౌట్ మిస్టర్ స్వర్ణ తేజ్? Where? No, here actually potential energy is mgh. No, potential energy is mgh. Potential energy per unit volume means by volume. M by V means rho, no, rho into GH. It is the potential energy per unit volume. Potential energy per unit volume. Potential energy per unit mass means GH only, no, because potential energy is mgh. Potential energy per unit mass means you divide with M, then that is equal to GH, no. It is the potential energy per unit mass. Potential energy per unit mass. Okay, next, suppose if you divide with G, then you will get H. Of course, here I have written no previously. So here, when you divide entire with G, then we got H. H is the gravitational head. Similarly, V square by 2G is the velocity head. P by rho G is the pressure head. The terms are those terms are given different names: pressure head, velocity head, gravitational head. Okay. Right. Venturi meter is, of course, applications of Bernoulli's theorem means Venturi meter works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem only. Okay. Next, perfume sprayer works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. Next, air compressor works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. Okay. Atomizer. Atomizer is the device used to produce the charged oil drops. అంటే చార్జ్డ్ ఆయిల్ డ్రాప్స్ ని ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేయడానికి యూజ్ చేసే డివైస్ ని అటమైజర్ అంటాం. యా, సెంట్ స్ప్రేయర్, పెర్ఫ్యూమ్ స్ప్రేయర్ మీన్స్ దట్ స్ప్రేయర్. ఓకే, లేకపోతే ఈ మన శానిటైజర్ స్ప్రేయర్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా, శానిటైజర్ స్ప్రేయర్. ఓకే, లేకపోతే కొలిన్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్సో దేర్, నో, కొలిన్. ఆల్ దీస్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ the Bernoulli's principle. These works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. So atomizer is the device used to spray the charged oil drops. అంటే బయటికి ఆయిల్ డ్రాప్స్ స్ప్రే చేస్తుంది, చార్జెస్ తోటి స్ప్రే చేసేట్లుగా చేసేది అటమైజర్. ఓకే, దట్ ఆల్సో వర్క్స్ ఆన్ ది ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఆఫ్ బెర్నౌల్లిస్ థియరం. ఓకే, రైట్. సో వెంచురీ మీటర్ is the device used to measure the volume rate of flow. Works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. Of course, application of Bernoulli's theorem means it works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. It is the device used to, this is the device used to measure volume rate of flow of liquid through the pipe. మనం ఏ పైప్ లో వాల్యూమ్ రేట్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్లో ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేయాలో ఆ పైప్ కి ఈ వెంచురీ మీటర్ ని ఫిక్స్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, సపోజ్ ఇక్కడ వెంచురీ మీటర్ యొక్క డయాగ్రామ్ డ్రా చేస్తున్నా చూడండి. these are the, here in venturimeter, there are two, there is a horizontal tube like this having different areas of cross section. These two are having same area of cross section. This is the narrow tube. Okay, these tubes are connected to vertical tubes. These tubes are connected to vertical tubes like this. These tubes are connected to vertical tube like this. Suppose this is the axis of the venturimeter. Axis of the venturimeter means, already I said, the line passing through different cross sections of the all tubes. That is the axis of the tube here. So this is the axis of the tube. Okay, now this is the construction of the venturimeter. It is the construction of the venturimeter. Here now, suppose there is a tube in which liquid is flowing. What is the volume rate of flow of the liquid flowing through that tube? In order to find them, you connect that tube through this first end of the venturimeter. A tube తీసుకొచ్చి దీన్ని ఫిక్స్ అయ్యింది. Then that water flowing through this venturimeter, no, whatever the water flowing through that tube, through which volume rate of flow to be determined, that is flowing through this venturimeter. When that fluid flowing through the venturimeter, that liquid or water when flowing through the venturimeter, here whenever that liquid comes to this position, immediately as the narrow tube is there, the speed of the here the liquid will be stopped. The speed of the liquid while passing through this tube will be reduced. Whenever it is reduced, kinetic energy is lost. When kinetic energy is lost, as it is the horizontal tube, at any cross section of the tube, potential energy remains same. It horizontal undi kabatti potential energy remains same. But whenever the liquid enter into this tube, as it is broad and it is the narrow tube, whenever that liquid reaches the position here, because of narrow tube, here the velocity of the fluid will be reduced here. Whenever velocity is reduced, kinetic energy is reduced. When kinetic energy is reduced, no change the potential energy. But according to Bernoulli's theorem, total energy constant, no, మరి kinetic energy reduce అయినప్పుడు ప్రెజర్ ఎనర్జీగా మారాలి కదా, కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ ప్రెజర్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. ఇక్కడ లాస్ ఆఫ్ kinetic energy అవుతుంటే ప్రెజర్ ఎనర్జీగా మారుతుంది, కాబట్టి ప్రెజర్ at this point will be more. ఇక్కడ ఈ పాయింట్ దగ్గర ప్రెజర్ అంటే ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ ఈ ట్యూబ్ దగ్గర ప్రెజర్ P1 అనుకోండి, ఇక్కడ ప్రెజర్ P2 అనుకోండి. అఫ్ కోర్స్ ఇది సిమెట్రీ కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ కూడా ప్రెజర్ P1 ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, as pressure here is more, the liquid level at this point, as the pressure is more, the liquid level in this vertical tube will be more. ఇక్కడ ఎక్కడికో రైజ్ అవుతుంది లిక్విడ్ ఫ్లో అవుతున్నప్పుడు ఇక్కడ ప్రెజర్ ఎక్కువ ఉంది కాబట్టి the liquid level rises more extent like this. తర్వాత ఇక్కడ velocity of the fluid in the narrow tube, velocity of the fluid flowing through this tube is more, no. Suppose you take the hose pipe ఇక్కడ ట్రీ కొంత డిస్టెన్స్ లో ఉంది. హోస్ పైప్ నుంచి వచ్చే వాటర్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు కవర్ మోర్ డిస్టెన్స్, వాట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ, వీ హ్యావ్ టు క్లోజ్ ద హోస్ పైప్ త్రూ సర్టెన్ క్రాస్ సెక్షన్. కొంత క్రాస్ సెక్షన్ మనం క్లోజ్ చేసినప్పుడు దట్ వాటర్ కమ్స్ అవుట్ త్రూ మోర్ డిస్టెన్స్, కమ్స్ అవుట్ విత్ మోర్ వెలాసిటీ అండ్ ట్రావెల్ త్రూ మోర్ డిస్టెన్స్, నో, సో దట్ ఇట్ ఫాల్ ఎట్ మోర్ డిస్టెన్స్, లార్జ్ డిస్టెన్స్. Okay, because that works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem, we can say, or that works on the principle of equation of continuity. Equation of continuity prakaram volume rate of flow constant, కానీ whenever the tube is closer to some extent, then area of cross section will be reduced. When A is decreased, V will be more. That's why the average velocity with which the water comes out through the pipe will increase, so it cover more distance. Similarly here also, as the cross section area decreases, then velocity will increase. When velocity increases, kinetic energy will be more. When kinetic energy is more, pressure is less. That's why at this point pressure is less compared with the pressure here. That's why the height of the liquid level in this narrow tube will be less. So whenever the water is flowing through the tube, water is flowing through this venturimeter, then the heights of the water levels in this tube and in this tube both are same. But in this tube, as the pressure here is less, the height of the liquid level will be less. Okay. So now what about the height? Here from the axis of the tube, this height of the liquid column is say H1. From the axis of the tube, the height of the liquid level is say H2. Of course, we can take this distance also because this radius can be neglected when compared with this height. Okay, these are the heights of the liquid levels. Now, suppose the average velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube is say V1, through this cross section that is say V2. Okay, now you apply the Bernoulli's theorem here. Suppose if you take the reference level here, this cross here, this axis is at the same height, this axis is also at the same height. Now, according to Bernoulli's theorem, total energy per unit volume is at this cross section. At this cross section A, this cross section is say B, it is say C. Total energy per unit volume at A and at B, both are equal. Total energy per unit volume at A means pressure energy per unit volume P1, or we can write P1 we can write plus potential energy per unit volume is rho z into H plus kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho into V1 square. It is the total energy per unit volume at this point. Total energy per unit volume at B is equal to pressure energy per unit volume plus potential energy per unit volume is rho gh plus kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho into V2 square. According to Bernoulli's theorem, total energy per unit volume through any cross section of the tube remains the same when no external force is applied, that is constant. Both are same. Okay, now here rho gh cancel now. P1 minus P2 is equal to rho by 2 V2 square minus rho by 2 V1 square, or P1 minus P2 is equal to rho by 2, we take common, V2 square minus V1 square. Okay, here P1 minus P2 means pressure difference at this point, pressure difference between this point and this point is, at this point pressure is P0 plus, suppose if it is open to atmosphere, P0 plus H1 rho z, here P0 plus H2 rho z. Difference P1 minus P2 is equal to, P1 means P0 plus H1 rho z, okay, minus P0 plus H2 rho z, that is equal to H1 minus H2 into rho z. This difference in heights of the liquid levels in this tube is say H. Then H1 minus H2 into rho z. That is equal to H rho z. Okay. So P1 minus P2 can be written as H rho z. H rho z. That is equal to rho by 2 into V2 square minus V1 square. Here rho cancel. Therefore 2ZH is equal to V2 square minus V1 square. So we need the volume rate of flow. We need the volume rate of flow. No. Now this is a equation 1. According to equation of continuity, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Suppose area of cross section of this tube is say A1, area of cross section of this tube is say A2. At this point, area of cross section is A2. At this point, area of cross section is say A1. Then A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2 according to equation of continuity. From equation of continuity, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2 we can write. Okay. Now from this we had find the velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube is V1. We had find. Then 2ZH from 1, 2GH is equal to, you take V1 square common, V1 square of V2 square by V1 square minus 1. Okay, that is equal to V1 square into V2 by V1 means A1 by A2. Square is there. That's why A1 by A2 whole square means A1 square by A2 square minus 1. Therefore, V1 square is equal to 2ZH by A1 by A2 whole square minus 1. R implies V1 is equal to root 2ZH by A1 by A2 whole square minus 1. This is the formula for velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube. You are given just a difference in heights of the liquid level A1, A2. Then what is the velocity with which the fluid passing through this cross section of the tube means, by using that formula we can find. So what about the volume rate of flow? Volume rate of flow. Therefore, volume rate of flow. Volume rate of flow Q is equal to, as the average velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section is known, then area of cross section here into average velocity gives volume rate of flow. A1 into V1. A1 into, what about V1? V1 means this one, square root of 2ZH by A1 by A2 whole square minus 1. This is the formula for volume rate of flow through the Venturi meter. That is equal to volume rate of flow through the pipe. So in this way, by using this formula, just if you know the H value, A1, A2 will be given. Then we can find the volume rate of flow of the fluid through this through the pipe. Okay, in this way, by using venturimeter, we can find the volume rate of flow of the fluid. Okay, where H is equal to H1 minus H2. Okay. Next. Next, Torsell's theorem. So from this formula, we can write like this also. Here, you see, I got volume rate of flow Q is equal to A1 into square root of 2ZH by A1 by A2 whole square minus 1. Okay, you take LCM. When you take LCM, A1 into square root of 2ZH by, you take LCM. A1 square minus A2 square whole by A2 square. A1 square minus A2 square whole by A2 square means into A2 square. Therefore, volume rate of flow is equal to A1 into, you write A2 square outwards. Then A1 into A2 into root 2ZH by A1 square minus A2 square. This is the volume rate of flow of the fluid through the pipe or through the venturimeter. So just in case of venturimeter, if you know A1, A2, and whenever the water flowing through the venturimeter, if you know the difference in heights of the liquid levels in the broad tube and the narrow tube, then volume rate of flow flowing through this venturimeter is known. That is equal to volume rate of flow through the given pipe. So in this way, with the help of the venturimeter, we can find the volume rate of flow. Okay, next. It is the venturimeter. Already I sent the fluid mechanics notes to you. I kept in WhatsApp group. So all these derivations are also there. Okay, next. Second one, Pitot tube. It is also important one. Pitot tube. Here, with what velocity the fluid passing through the tube? In order to measure the velocity of the fluid passing through given cross section of the tube, we use the Pitot tube. Device, of course, works on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem only. Device used to measure average velocity of liquid through given cross section of the tube. Given cross section of the tube. So simple construction is there. Here there is a simple construction. Suppose liquid is flowing through the tube. This is one tube through which liquid is flowing. Okay, with a velocity, here this cross section of the tube. This is the cross section of the tube. Average velocity of the fluid passing through this cross section is equal to, say, V. Okay, here a vertical tube is fixed here in order to measure the pressure at this point, pressure at this cross section. Okay, now here a L-shaped tube. The L-shaped tube is L-shaped tube that is kept at this point. L-shaped tube is kept inside the this broad tube so that it stops the velocity of the fluid. Here, whenever a narrow tube is kept in front of the fluid flow here, the velocity of the fluid flow will be stopped here. Due to that, velocity of the fluid becomes zero, reduced to zero. So whenever velocity becomes reduced to zero, then pressure will be more. When pressure is more, the liquid level rises in the side this tube. The liquid level rises here. So whenever the liquid level rises here, then the liquid level rises here more, and the liquid level here will be less. Okay. Now, what is the difference in heights of the liquid level? Here, the difference in heights of the liquid level is say small h. The height of this liquid level in this tube from the axis of the tube. Suppose this is the axis of the tube. This is the axis of the tube. From the axis of the tube, this liquid level is at a height h1. This liquid level is at a height say h2. Then difference in heights of the liquid level small h is equal to h2 minus h1. Okay, now you apply the Bernoulli's theorem. You apply the Bernoulli's theorem at A and at B. At A means that is the cross section of the tube. B means that is at the first end of the L-shaped tube. This arrangement is nothing but pitot tube. Okay, so according to Bernoulli's theorem, total energy per unit volume at A and at B both are equal. What is the total energy at A? Pressure energy per unit volume P1 plus potential energy per unit volume is rho z into H. As it is the horizontal tube, from the reference line, whatever the height of this one, the height of this point B and A both are same. Okay, that's why potential energy remains same. That is say H naught. Height is say H naught plus kinetic energy per unit volume half rho into V1 square or VA square. That is equal to, in case of pitot tube, while the liquid enter into the pitot tube, the velocity becomes reduced to zero. No, the velocity becomes reduced to zero. Therefore, velocity at the end A is equal to V. Velocity at the liquid while entering into the L-shaped tube, that means at B, that is equal to zero. That's why kinetic pressure energy per unit volume P2 plus potential energy per unit volume rho g H naught plus kinetic energy per unit volume is half rho into zero. That is equal to zero. Therefore, P1 minus P2 is equal to P1 minus rho g H naught cancel definitely. Okay, P2 minus P1 because the velocity of the fluid at this point made zero. That's why pressure will be more here. Hence, you write P2 minus P1, not P1 minus P2. So P2 minus P1 is equal to half rho into VA square. No, what is P2 minus P1? Pressure difference at this point and at this point. That is equal to, here pressure at this point is equal to P naught plus H rho z. Pressure at this point is equal to P naught plus H1 rho z. Difference means H2 minus H1 into rho z. That's why here this can be written as H2 minus H1 into rho z is equal to half rho into VA square. Here rho cancel. Therefore, VA is equal to square root of 2z into H2 minus H1. 2z into H2 minus H1. That is equal to VA is equal to square root of 2z into H. Because H is equal to H2 minus H1. No? So, in case of pitot tube, if you know the difference in heights of the liquid levels here, then the velocity of the fluid passing through this tube, average velocity of the liquid passing through any cross section of the tube is equal to root 2gh. Okay. What is the time? Oh, sorry. Time is 49. Okay, based on these concepts today you do the problems. Aerodynamic lift is there. Okay, in next class I will continue. Okay, bye all of you. Time is up. Okay, then all of you, bye.